back at it again inside high school hoops with my man ISO Ani. Clear out. That's his go-to now. Just get out the way. You don't even have to wave people off. You just literally just get out the way. ISO Ani. So yeah, we got another great one here. A family member of mine, somebody that I'm always excited to connect to, whether it's this way or via phone. He's always got some stuff brewing and some stuff up his sleeve that he's making happen. Playmaking and always in playmaking mode. His oldest son is one of the best playmakers in college basketball. I believe still leading the nation in assists for Kentucky. And now he has another wave coming through with his next son, Montana. And we'll keep going and keep going and keep going. So without further ado, we'll bring in Teddy Wheeler from Houston, Texas to the studio. Teddy, what up, man?
Man, what's up? First of all, thank you guys for having me and being gracious enough to allow me to join you guys on your platform. I see what you guys are doing out here is growing. It has momentum. I think it's great for the culture. You guys are both knowledgeable and hardworking pillars inside the basketball space. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to join you guys and look forward to this day.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun with it, man. We appreciate you taking the time. We see we got the sweater. We got to talk about the sweater. Is there a particular reason?
Sweater game elite.
Yeah, is there a particular reason why you have that one on today? Is there a particular reason? I don't know.
Man, I think it's just, I like to do organic connections, right? And I think your clothing is a reflection of your mindset. So my mindset today is on stars and stripes. And so, I had to pull this out the left side of the closet, out of left field and bring this one out. But we're excited about the event going on at Houston Christian on the campus. Houston Christian High School in Houston, New York. Houston, Texas. I said Houston, New York. I got some New York.
New York in you is coming out. That's what that is.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I got a New York text message just now. One of the teams that I'm excited about seeing is from New York. It's from our Savior Lutheran team. They got some great talent. So I met with them at the airport last night to just try to be a gracious host. And I've been texting with them this morning, making sure they got everything they need to make this trip a productive one. So the event is going on. This is our fourth iteration of the event. It's grown, over time to have not just some of the best players regionally, but some of the most sought after recruits on a national scale. So we're just trying to, do our part to make sure in this post-COVID normalcy that we still get back to, giving guys platforms to increase their star power and earn their stripes on the court. So that's kind of the motto that we operate under. And it's a great launch point for some guys who on the cusp of having national recognition, but need an ideal matchup, right? Because I think your reputation is born in matchups. Yeah. And we've seen that, the three of us have seen that over the years, how that game against that particular contemporary really gets somebody buzz going. So we're looking forward to some of these matchups.
Yeah, you talk a little bit about the concept behind it. Talk a little bit about the history of the Stars and Stripes for those who know you've already had some of those people who have made waves, like you mentioned. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the history of the people that have made those waves.
Right. So the launch point was really born out of a desire to get my daughter, Sage Bella Wheeler. She's always helped me curate. She really curates portions of my life, honestly. She's like my muse. And so she's really involved with some of the day-to-day decisions as far as, creative things that I'm involved with, whether it's things that I do in the diversity, equity, inclusion space, just aesthetics in terms of, even how we decorate our home. She's just a true creator. And so I wanted to get her involved in the basketball event business and event planning. And so I thought it was a natural thing for us to get involved in high school, because obviously I've had, almost a decade tenure at Houston Christian High School. We've had enormous success over the years trying to build this to be the most popular and preeminent private school program in the state of Texas. And so for for her to be involved in something that would help us collaborate would really be, I thought, a really cool thing. So about 5 years ago, we started, messing around with the idea, and she came up with the name and the idea and the concept. And from there, it was just, getting the green light at Houston Christian to be a hub where we can host the event and get some teams that we thought would be able to benefit from some of our relationships and have the opportunity to go ahead and kind of do their thing on the court. So the first year was Savir's senior year, and we played Clear Lake High School.
Yeah.
And they had Jaja Sani on that team, who was a really talented player. We had Redemption Christian out of Oklahoma. They had several high-level players. We brought in Universal Academy with Terrell Woody's group, who we were disappointed they couldn't join us this year, but they had a prior commitment. But they had several good players out of Dallas, Texas. So you guys know who those guys are. He runs a really tight ship and has produced a myriad of talented players. And also we had Episcopal High School, who was an SBC rival, for lack of a better word, and they had a really talented group of players that several of those guys are playing Division I basketball as well. So, I think it was Noah Khan's launch point. I think he really took that opportunity to really, shine in that moment. And he had a tremendous game for us that night. And so we've had, several high-level players come through here. And we're excited about, what the next crop of stars are going to do.
No, absolutely. I want to talk about a couple matchups. You talked about guys potentially raising their stock or really having that, on the cusp. When you got that JP2 and San Antonio Wagner game.
Yeah.
Obviously, Austin, who's a top 100 kid. Austin, top 100 kid from Arizona State. But, you got some young cats at JP2 with RJ Jones, 2023, and Liam McNealy. 2024. And there's a couple players that are pretty good, but just, haven't gotten the recognition like Gabe Warren at JP2. And then Wagner has like Kevin Garcia. There's some unsigned seniors.
Right.
Like this is a primetime game on Friday night that I think people really aren't talking about. This would be a fast-paced game. You got some players there, and you got some guys that can really kind of take their stock to another level. Kind of, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm excited because, first of all, I've gotten a chance to see both of those teams respectively, during the early portion of our season. And teams, especially with really good coaching staffs like those teams have, they develop over time, right? And so the version you saw maybe of that team 2 or 3 weeks ago is now, I'm turning the corner. So I saw JP2 at the Capel tournament, maybe 2 weeks ago. And really high level talent. That's the immediate reaction when you're watching them. And Dan Lee does a phenomenal job of coaching those guys up, keeping them organized, and putting them in a system where they can showcase, their enormous talent. So Liam McNealy, that was my first time laying eyes on him. Obviously, with the USA Basketball affiliation, I had heard some really good things about him, and to get a chance to see him in person, he's bigger than I thought he would be, and he got some pop to his legs. Went baseline and got a 2-hand dunk. It was an eye opener. So I like what he brings to the table from an athletic and size positionally, but he's also got a skill set, right? He can pass the ball. He doesn't hold on to it too long. Makes quick decisions. And he's versatile. And with the RJ Jones, I would like to see some more of him. I like my initial impression. I saw him at the A&M block party was what they
Buzz's block party, right?
Yeah, I went up there for that, and that was the first time I saw him. Really good player, really talented. He can score the ball. Tries to run the team and make the right decision. And this would be a really competitive matchup against Austin Nunez, who's battle tested, who's been around big time basketball. Really, his whole life. I've yet to see another kid that's evolved as much as he has in that class. I thought he was more of a complimentary player early on. And watching him with, he had some really talented teams back with those hard work teams. And so I saw him, surrounded by other talent that I thought he was willing to take a back seat to. And now seeing him with his high school team in this space as a senior, he's flexing. He out here flexing. Yeah. So when I saw him at the hoops given, he dropped the 30 ball. He was exciting. But you saw flashes of that 2 years ago when he came down here with Cornerstone Christian. Against the Woodlands Christian, he had a nice game. And so I always was admired his game from afar and really wanted to see, how far he could take it. And so he's obviously making some strides in his overall game and his production. So that's going to be a big time game, big time matchup. And that Wagner staff, they do a great job with their program.
Yeah, they do. They do. Like you said, the coaching component, the team JP2 that you saw at the Capel tournament and the Wagner team we saw at Hoops Giving are different teams. The guys have gotten better since they were good then. So that's a very exciting matchup. I really caught my eye. Going into Saturday, you got Houston Christian and Prestonwood. Prestonwood's had some good wins like against Green Hill. I've seen you guys at the Capel tournament. I love watching y'all play. With your son Montana, who's just an electric dynamic guard, and then you have Brody Robinson, and then the big fella who has a chance down the road, starting to kind of figure it out, and he's a kid that's going to keep just seeing his progress, from at that point and see what he looks like in January. See what he looks like in January. Because you can't teach size, and then you go into a situation like the Concordia Lutheran San Antonio Wagner game.
The contrast in styles. That was the change up. Every year we try to throw a change up, throw a curveball in there.
I see that.
From a basketball, and we're basketball guys, so we can appreciate it. Like what's going to win out. What style is going to win out, and I think that's what the NCAA tournament always throws you. So we always intentional about throwing together a curveball. And see what style will win out. And sometimes styles make fights. So I think that's going to be a really intriguing matchup for us.
I want to hear about that PCA Prestonwood Christian Academy and Houston Christian.
Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of film.
Academy is Dallas and Houston.
Yeah, and so we've always, Prestonwood Academy has had a reputation since Randall and Mickey Mitchell and those guys. So that's a legacy. For lack of a better, that's a legacy school, with a really good program. And so, we have a ton of respect for what they've done in the past and who they are today as well. They do a good job. And I would have a healthy respect for the private school programs. It's hard to build those programs because you have the really tough academic component.
Yep.
You do the time management thing, and that's in school in itself. It's not for everybody. Private school is not for everybody. So if you can work inside that paradigm and still have sustained success over a period of time, I think is impressive. So we're honored to have that matchup on our schedule. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a really tough challenge for our guys, and we're looking forward to it. Our young team is coming together. We lost 9 seniors from a team that went 25-2 last year. And so when you lose that amount of not just 90% of your scoring and all of those different things from an analytics standpoint, but you lose a lot of your heartbeat, your culture, your framework, your skeleton in the way you go about doing your business. And so we had to replace a lot of that on the fly. And so our guys are learning how to do it the Houston Christian way, and learning what our terminology is, learning what things we want to emphasize, how we go about our business, because everyone came from a different place, right? They came from public schools and playing this system, playing with this AAU program, they emphasize that, but we have a specific way in which we want to do it. So there's some growing pains with that. There's some adjustments with that, so we're excited about, the group that we have and their potential, but we're still very much a work in progress. And in the meantime, we're trying to make sure it's still fun. We're still elevating their minds and their spirits to reach greater heights. So we're excited about this young group, though. Brody Robinson, has been our leading scorer so far. He's a fabulous guard out of Houston, Texas, obviously, and he can do it from different places on the court. He can score inside, he can score outside, but he plays what I say. He plays with momentum. He brings a force and energy to the court. Like he has a competitive spirit that's tangible, and so I'm excited about his growth. I've been around him for a couple years now, and he's continued to take incremental steps in his game. And the young fella Montana Wheeler, who's obviously I have a proximity to because that's my son. I mean, he's doing a tremendous job as a freshman, and he's really earning his reputation as a Wheeler.
let's just take a time out and say what does that mean? Because everybody cannot understand what that means.
Yeah, I think
your oldest really walked it in a way that he probably still doesn't get the credit for what he did in high school. People say McNealy now, but in high school
he's incredible. He's an incredible high school. I mean, I think it's wink and he gets credit because I saw a list of the all-time greatest players to come out of Houston. He was on that list. There was some really good players who weren't. So, this is Xavier is you can Google that, right? You can find out what that was about. So we're certainly proud of his accomplishments and the winning state championships. But it's funny how I talk to coaches in reference to what they saw in him, and just so in hindsight, I can either call their bluff or just pat him on the back for because I remember every conversation. That's one thing my wife did for me is to keep me sober after I met her. I can remember every single conversation I had.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, real quick. He was number one in the city for 4 years straight for his class. Is that correct?
He was number one all the way through. There was some times where some people said other things, but he started number one. He was number one as a sophomore. For entertainment value, somebody might say something else, but as a freshman, at some point he was one, sophomore, junior, and seniors. And nationally, he was always the highest rated player in Houston nationally, out of no matter what rankings you looked at. So yes, that is accurate. And he should have been. I thought he put together the best resume of performances. Right. He won at the highest level, state championships. He won nationally. As far as camps, no one had a camp resume of going to different high-level camps and making the all-camp team, the all top 100 team, whatever vessel he was in, he was always performing. The MVP of the Baller Brand game, which has several NBA players. He's always had that level of performance to back up whatever recognition he was getting. So for Montana, it's not necessarily living up to the expectations externally, but it's really our own expectations for him, and making sure that he has a process that matches his path, his walk, with his gifts all for the game, because they're different players. One is right-handed, one is left-handed, so aesthetically it just looks different. Right. From that standpoint, but their approach is different because their influences were different. You know what I mean? Xavier grew up, with an influence of Damon Stoudemire and Kenny Anderson and those type of guards, and Sebastian Telfairs and things that I put in front of him. Whereas Montana has a different set of influences, right? Because of the game that he grew up watching outside of his brother's games, or now it's Trae Young. Now it's this guy and that guy. And so I think from that standpoint, it looks a little different. But it certainly has that Wheeler-ish on top of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right there. They are different players, but but Montana, he still has that Wheeler factor in him. I enjoy watching him play. I was talking when I got done, and I saw about a half, and I came back later and saw y'all again. People are like, what do you think? Because when it comes to sub 6 foot guards, right? They always deal with Xavier. It was is he really like that? And I was like, man, he's talented. When I saw Montana, I was like, he's talented. You can most definitely see it.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to stop looking at more of I know height can be a factor, but you got to look at how good he is, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we, as even evaluators, and I have been at fault at that in the past, is we don't look at how good they are. We look at the size, right?
I think one of the things that, and I'm a lot, maybe not, I don't want to say a lot, but certainly older than some of the guys who do evaluations at a high level right now. I think what I try to do is make sure that my guys don't have to change their game. They never have to change their game. So the way they play their identity is formed by the time they get to that next level. Mm-hmm. So if you watch Xavier in the 3rd grade and you go to YouTube, his game looks like he's playing at Kentucky right now.
Right, absolutely.
The same way. So, it's harder to predict, to me, a guy who has to change depending on what the roster looks like, what position they're playing, because they may not play that position in college, who's coaching them, what system they're in, those factors, because then it becomes more of a variable. Xavier is not going to change his position. Montana is not going to change the position, and they don't have to change the way they play in order to play with better players, play against better competition, and in different systems. So I look at, or I try to emphasize those things. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of times kids lose momentum or lose production or lose their identity because they have to change based on their circumstances and environment. And so we never doubted Xavier would be a high major recruit or player. And we certainly don't think that anything is different in terms of Montana, because we're obsessed with the details of the game.
Right.
We are obsessed with it. No one's watching more film. No one's doing a deeper dive. No one's preparing more, preparing better. No one has, more intentionality when it comes to having success on the court and off the court. So when you put that level of work into it, the Bible says all hard work leads to prosperity, right? It doesn't say all work. It doesn't say all intelligence, all talent leads to, it says all hard work leads to prosperity. And we're believers in scripture. So we use scriptural references to really affirm the things that we do.
I love it. Man, I'm excited to see how these matchups go. Obviously, I'm always following Houston Christian basketball, seeing what's going on. Stars and Stripes event. How do people follow the event? We see the @ on your next to your name. So tell people how they can follow the event, and then tell us a little bit about what's next for you that you can share. Because in the Jay-Z reference, it's not a business, man. I'm a business.
Yeah. So the event itself, I want everybody to come out. I want everybody to come
even better.
In the Houston area. Come check these games out. Come see these moments. We talked about making movies over the years. Like Xavier needed some of those matchups in order to elevate him, but he needed people in the stands to see it, to experience it. So from a game by game standpoint, we'll have those. We'll have the content available in real time about who's doing what and what those games kind of conveyed, and have recaps on social media. But I'm really looking forward to those games, to being in the building and watch it myself, because I'm a fan of the game. Yep. This is why I've been in this space for this long. So we're truly excited about that. Moving forward, the next step for me is to just try to be a better servant, just to try to be a better resource to others. I'm excited about some of the work that I do on the court as a coach. Yep. I consider myself a lifer in the game of basketball. So I'm always being pulled in different directions for that, just to help with this person or to assist in that person. I'm in the gym consistently and doing player development in that space. I like the success we've had. So obviously it's going to continue with that, with having younger sons and younger teammates of my son. So I'm probably going to stay committed to that work as well. But I'm excited about some of the diversity, equity, inclusion work I do in the community. In terms of really providing awareness, opportunity, equity, and inclusion in these different communities that maybe we're not as tapped in, maybe we're not as connected to try to bring our stories and tell our narration of different things, and how do we impact other people whose touch point has to go beyond sport. right? We got to celebrate our lives outside of the battlefield. And so doing professional development, being a resource and doing different conversations, but also doing workshops and building bridges is something I'm excited about. Also, I mean, this is the first time I've seen, a girls game being the headlining game on Saturday. Our girls basketball team is currently undefeated. They're SBC favorites. They're coached by Ryan Bickham, does a tremendous job. They have two really high level players in Deasia Thomas and Logan Johnson. And they both have a chance to be McDonald's All-Americans. So we're excited about showcasing them. They're playing against St. Pius, which has a young lady, Z Perkins, who's a sophomore, who's a tremendous player in her own right. So we have a really high level matchup, and I was intentional about doing that as well. It's giving the girls an opportunity to be the headlining game, you know what I mean? And have them have their space and not some game we slap together. It may be 3 potential McDonald's All-Americans on the court. So we're excited about that as well, and trying to continue to be a resource, be a vessel, be someone who could help someone else, because I've benefited tremendously from the help of others.
No doubt. We love having you, man. We'll have you back. I'm sure we always do. Can't wait to see. I can't see the games in person, unfortunately, but I can't wait to follow from afar and hear about the matchups. And
will the games be live streamed?
They will not.
Okay.
They will not. They will not. We will take an intimate approach. If you wasn't at Rucker Park, you wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'll make sure the recap is available and the content is distributed in a timely fashion.
Sure.
No doubt. Looking forward to it, man. As always, a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege, my man, my brother. Look forward to it and keep up the great work, man. We love what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely.
Always.